There's a war happening right now for the future of how software gets built. And right now, everyone is actually looking at Lovable, right? They're everywhere, and I mean everywhere. First, you got Twitter, you got YouTube, you got TikTok, you name it. They built this massive cultural movement around the idea that anybody, regardless of technical background, can literally build an app by just chatting with AI. And here's the thing, while Lovable is still out there capturing the culture, there's a sleeping giant that's quietly capturing the enterprise. And that company is Cursor. In under 4 years, they've reached a $30 billion valuation and crossed $2 billion in annualized revenue. And that's not all. They're being used by 67% of the Fortune 500, and their platform is generating 150 million lines of enterprise code every single day. Now, if you're new here, my name is Matthew Mendoza, and I'm with Sentient Agency. We're a global AI-first media company that helps startups and brands drive conversions through high trusted content. We own over 30 million in media reach, and we work with a network of over 400 million followers across AI, tech, and business pages. And today, we're gonna do a full deep dive into Cursor. So first, we're gonna look at their social media strategy, right? And then their positioning, and this massive tension between what they're actually building and how they're communicating it to the world. Because here's what most people get wrong. They group Cursor and Lovable together like they're the same thing. Like they're just both AI app builders. But in reality, they're solving two completely different problems for completely different people. So let's start by asking how Cursor is actually positioning themselves right now. Cursor is deliberately building a prestige brand instead of more or less a culture brand. And that's intentional, right? They're not trying to be this massive social media brand. They want you to know that they ship constantly, they have real research depth, and they are genuinely becoming enterprise infrastructure, not just a casual, cool code editor that does vibe coding. And honestly, their content engine reflects that perfectly. If you genuinely look at their website, their channel log, and their blog, that's where their real content engine is. That's where they actually live. And in March 2026 alone, they dropped launches like JetBrains support, automations, marketplace plugins, self-hosted cloud agents as well, one after another, right? And not to mention, they use LinkedIn as their main distribution layer for product announcements and enterprise credibility. And it's working. It clearly is, right? Their recent posts are very B2B motion friendly. And when they post about their technical reports or a design system workflow, they're getting thousands of reactions and hundreds of comments. And that tells you that their page isn't dead distribution. The market is genuinely paying attention and paying attention hard. And on YouTube, they've proven that they know how to create breakout hero assets. They're introducing Cursor 2.0 video almost has 10 million views, and that's not normal. For genuine developer tool content, that's actually insane. What Cursor's doing well is they have a clear category story. Their narrative is consistent. Coding is shifting from autocomplete to agents. Cursor is actually the operating layer for that shift, and they have research and infrastructure to actually own it. And this is why they publish receipts, not just hype. They put out technical reports, research on real-time reinforcement learning, and security agent write-ups, the whole thing. That gives them so much more credibility than a pure demo-driven AI brand, and that matters. But here's where things get really interesting, because while Cursor is winning on authority, they're leaving a massive opportunity on the table when it generally comes to social narrative storytelling. And that's the thing, most of their social footprint looks like launch distribution. And that's powerful, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same as like a daily social obsession loop of actually talking about what you're doing. This style creates admiration, but it doesn't always create attachment. And that difference is big. And on top of that, they're risking sounding too technical for the wider market. Their recent social topics include indexing algorithms and running long agents, and that's excellent for credibility. Here's the reality. A lot of the market does not buy tools because of technical sophistication alone. They buy because they can imagine themselves actually winning with the tool. And this is why Cursor underplays transformation stories compared to actual product stories, because that's kind of not what they're actually striving for, right? They have customer proof like money forward and enterprise references, and that's great, but there's still way more product launch content than their visceral transformation stories. So with that being said, a strong social system would actually show more before and after workflows. Stories like, one person shipped this entire product in a weekend, or this team cut their launch time in half, that kind of content. And that's exactly where Lovable tends to live. Their whole site emphasizes like apps, websites, concrete business outcomes, and ideas becoming actually real. So let's break down the exact difference between the two, because this is important. Cursor is a developer operating system built for engineers, lives inside coding workflows. The focus is on depth, control, and power. And this is why Cursor is fundamentally asking, how do we make the best developers 100 times better? And then Lovable, on on the other hand, is the idea to app engine built for non-devs, founders, marketers, lives completely outside of traditional coding, right? The focus is on speed, accessibility, and creativity. And Lovable is asking, how do we let anyone turn ideas into a product? So here's the real takeaway. Cursor is not losing to Lovable, but they're losing attention to Lovable. Cursor wins on technical credibility. Lovable wins on social clarity and mass appeal. And that is the difference. If you look at Cursor's content, it's extremely impressive, but it assumes you already understand the problem. Now, if you look at Lovable's content, it makes you feel like you can build something without even knowing anything about coding. So it gives you that brand mass appeal because everybody's going to attract to it. And this brings us to the CEO of Cursor, right? He's 25 years old. He built a company out of MIT, right? He's brilliant, and when he speaks, people genuinely listen. But here's the issue. He's entirely decentralized from anything online. However, he lives in, say, like different social media platforms in terms of podcasts and all these other people, but there's nothing tied to him internally. And that means he doesn't have like an actual personal brand engine. And for a $30 billion company, that's a massive missed opportunity. Because if Cursor wants to own the broader cultural conversation, they don't need to change their product at all, because it's honestly probably better than Lovable's, right? They just need to evolve in how they communicate it. They should keep the research and launch engine exactly the way it is, because that's the real moat and it's actually working, but they need to add more transformation content. Show us what some of those users are actually doing. Like, what are the teams actually working on? Basically, people some perspective to see themselves in. Cursor is building the infrastructure layer of AI development, and Lovable is building the entry point to AI creation. So when I look at Cursor's social strategy, I'm not asking like, why aren't they like Lovable? I'm asking, are they genuinely communicating their value in a way that actually matches how big their product actually is? Because Cursor is building the future of how software gets created, and Lovable is making that future feel accessible today. And if Cursor can bridge that gap, if they can actually maintain their absolute technical authority while also adopting the approach of actually making top of funnel content, they won't just be seen as a default choice for serious developers. They'll be the default operating system for human creativity. Genuinely looking at Cursor's specific situation, this is exactly where companies like Sentient can come in. And that's because Cursor already has the hardest part figured out, basically. They have the credibility, they have the product, and they have a massive following on Twitter. What we do at Sentient is we provide that top of funnel leverage through our network, right? We own a massive amount of reach across own accounts, and we have an incredible network of influencers that have worked with us in the past. So if we're running a campaign launch for Cursor on Twitter, here's exactly how we would structure it. We would post the main campaign from Cursor's official account, and then from there we would have our own accounts go in and do massive quote retweets, and we would also reach out to our influencer network and basically do the same. And this is why it works, because of how Twitter actually works in terms of the algorithm. Every single one of those quote retweets funnels all the attention back to the original post on Cursor's page. You do that, and suddenly Cursor isn't just getting hundreds of thousands of views. They're amassing millions and millions of impressions on a single launch. And it completely changes the way the company is looked in such a very short amount of time, right? You take Cursor's technical authority and then you add top of funnel leverage, they completely squash any competition out there. So if you are from Cursor, or if you're watching this, that's exactly how we build our content engine every single time. And if you're watching this and you have your own brand and you want to apply this exact same strategy to completely dominate your space, just reach out to us. We can definitely have a conversation. We can do the exact same thing for you. Without that being said, if you guys have any questions, leave a comment down below and we'll talk soon.